What's up YouTube? Welcome to a new series I'm going to be doing. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to review every single bike I've ever ridden, or at least every single bike I've spent enough time on to justify a review. I've been riding bikes for over 10 years now. I've ridden a bunch of different stuff from a lot of different brands over a lot of different generations of bikes and riding styles. So I think it'll be fun to break down each bike, kind of how it played a part in my riding career, if you want to call it that. I just provide some backstory on what that bike meant to me, how it actually rides performance-wise, and probably give you a few funny stories to go along with it. Yeah, I think it'll be a good time, and we'll just start off by reviewing my first ever mountain bike. It's a 2007 Transition Dirtbag. So before I talk about the bike itself, I kind of have to talk about how I got into my first full suspension mountain bike. And I had ridden dirt bikes from a pretty young age with my family, but it was mainly trail stuff. And I was super into bikes as a kid, just riding around town, and we had local jumps I would go hit, but I was really pretty unaware of like the sport of mountain biking as a whole. Once I got into high school though, I discovered the internet. There were a few friends that were doing it. I was just hooked. So I sold the Xbox, which is a big deal, started grinding, doing chores, mowing lawns, and I ended up saving $1,000 to spend on my first mountain bike. And I remember looking at a bunch of different things on Pink Bike, not knowing what I was gonna buy. There wasn't a whole lot for $1,000, and then this Dirtbag came up. I just love the name of calling the bike a Dirtbag. It's just like, and it's so appropriate for what this bike was. It was like 170 mil travel, single crown, beefy free ride bike. And these were just like, it's just so representative of a generation of like single crown free ride bikes. And it was really not a good bike. It was, by today's standards, it was pretty horrible at everything, but it was the perfect first bike for me. It was overbuilt in every single way, 36 hole wheels, huge single crown totem fork with 40 mil stanchions, coil shock, like huge chain guide. And yeah, I think I was looking at some other bikes that were like kind of XC or traily, but having this bike that could take a beating and had enough travel for me to like go send it off real sketchy stuff was exactly what I needed at that time. Like just looking at the geometry numbers, this was a medium. I think I was like 5'10" at the time. I wasn't completely done growing, and it has like a 380 mil reach. And there's some mediums now that are like almost 480. You know, that's on the longer end, but it's just insane how small and sketchy these bikes were. Like 66.5-degree head angle on like what's supposed to be a free ride bike. It was just so tiny by today's standard. You know, when I got this bike, I like barely knew how to jump. I was coming off of jumping my dirt bike, and I had like a real sketchy 99 KTM EXC 200. My dad would always tell me when jumping my dirt bike to pull up on the handlebars because I was nosediving, but it was really because I was chopping my throttle off the lip because I was getting scared. And my dad, like, you know, bless his heart for getting me into dirt bikes, but really knew nothing. Like, he didn't come from a racing background or anything. So every jump I was just wrenching on this like 200-pound dirt bike to just like get the front end up. And when I had a 40-pound mountain bike, which was heavy at the time, but it's nothing compared to a dirt bike, every jump I was just full sky wheelie, just front end high. And it made for some like really sketchy moments. Free ride was such a thing at the time. Like some of the BC free riders like James Doerfling were just like so big. And like all I wanted to do was hit big jumps and like wooden ladder drops. And I met some other friends who were kind of into the same stuff, and we would just like go build jump trails and kind of try and ride like sketchy free ride stuff all the time. But I would also pedal the thing. Like, I think it had a 36 tooth chainring and an 11 to 34 tooth 9-speed cassette with a X9 SRAM rear derailleur. Yeah, it just blows my mind how far gearing has come, because like with a single ring, like there just wasn't much else out there for gearing. So like you just pedaled a 36, 34 just around. Like that was the way it was. And yeah, I remember when like the Eagle stuff came out, I was like, I just couldn't fathom like wanting to have that low of a gear, and like now that I run it, I'm like stoked on it. But I was like, dude, like I'm running a 36, 34 out here pedaling this 41-pound free ride bike around. The Totem was like such an iconic fork for that time, and honestly, it was really good. I remember riding that fork. It was so buttery, like off the top suppleness with 40 mil stanchions. It's just like such an awesome fork. Obviously there's better stuff out there now, but I think it came with a coil Totem that busted it out its seals really quick, and I think had some other issues. I just remember having like 3 forks on the bike. Like at one point I had an air Totem, and then I think I ended on a coil Domain, like a real basic fork. That was super heavy, had like nickel plated stanchion. The bike itself wasn't that good, but the important thing was that it was durable enough to allow me to progress and had enough suspension travel, and was like, you know, aggressive enough of a bike to like allow me to really explore, like pushing my limits on jumps and taking it to bike parks and stuff. And like that's obviously the direction like I really ended up going. But yeah, I think I switched a couple parts around on it. I didn't know how to true wheels, so like I just ran the 36 hole transition wheels till they blew up. Bought some Azonic Outlaws. That bike took a total beating. I think I ended up selling the frame for like $700, which was insane. I'm pretty sure I made money on that bike, and that was a theme through all my bikes, especially in the early days, is I don't think I lost money on a single bike. And I actually started flipping parts in bikes just to like fund my hobby, because it's expensive, and you know, I didn't have a ton of help or any help at all really coming from my parents for me like buying gear and like maintaining my bikes. So I really had to get creative and find ways to kind of fund my hobby, which I was for sure hooked on after this first bike. I remember selling worn out chain rings, pretty bald tires for like 5, 10, 20 bucks. Just really hustling to yeah, keep the dream alive. So that was my first bike. Really fond memories riding this thing. And yeah, it kind of took me through my first year of riding full suspension mountain bikes, and it had me fall in love with the sport. So the next bike is going to be a Banshee Wildcard, staying heavy on the free ride scene, and yeah, a lot of fun bikes to come. I apologize for the sketchy studio. I'm just in the front of my van in New Zealand, but have some downtime where I'm not riding, so I just thought it would be good to kind of have fun with this little video series and review some bikes for you guys. So stay tuned for the next video, like and subscribe if you'd like, and I'll catch you guys later.